right? I made a bet that I'd win 9 games. I believed in the bull honky that Gundy was selling us in the summer. That's on me. It is what it is. But I don't have to shave until obviously the end of the season, correct? But I know the ship has sailed on us winning 9 games, so I might as well just be about my business and get rid of the beard.
Somehow that hadn't gone live until just right in the middle of that conversation. So let me reintroduce everybody real quick. Folks, we are doing a Hall of Fame version of Around the Horn, Big 12 style. We've got some Big 12 questions, and we have with us Justin Couz Walker from Couz's Corner, Cody Stovall from Locked On Oklahoma State, and the man himself, Tim Fitzgerald from Go Power Cat, along with the coach and myself. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Wipe your feet, man. Wipe
Absolutely.
your feet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Make sure to wipe your freaking feet before you come in this house. Folks, hit that like button. Make sure that you take care of us. We appreciate that a lot. All right. It'll be filling up here and shortly. We may end up with Coop on here as well, but he may miss a question or two. But as we were talking about coming into this, guys, a lot of things have been little different. And Cody, obviously, you were talking about what's going on a lot different there in Stillwater. We will get to that. The first thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit, this is something that just kind of got sprung on me, and I wanted to make sure that I got all you guys to talk about it. Yeah, hey, Cody's looking plain. Like that.
I know.
So weird, bro. It's such a weird deal. So, yeah, and I think we missed the joke where, the Wildcat in there ate Cody's beard and Fitz's hair. So, it was kind of good.
Hey, we got K-State coming up, so this is perfect.
K-State coming up, yeah, that's a bad deal for Okie Light. Although it could accelerate the firing, maybe, possibly. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk a little bit about. Here's what we're going to run into first. I want to talk first about Oklahoma and Texas will not be paying much of an exit fee, it seems. From what I could see on there, now there were reports out of both USA Today and ESPN talking about that essentially the agreement that they have come to is that you're going to have, they're just going to kind of forfeit the money they would have gotten in 2024 anyway, which would have been their last season in the Big 12, as it were. The original thought was that it was $100 million, $50 million for each school headed to the Big 12 to satisfy all the remaining members, the legacy members, that is. And then, of course, Fox was, because of them losing that year of the Red River game. Essentially, from what I could tell, they're saying that there will not even be money withheld from the two Blue Bloods coming into the 2023 in this season. And they're essentially going to withhold what they would have probably not gotten anyway for not being in the league next season. At least 80% of that money's not coming from Oklahoma and Texas. I will start with you, Couz. You're one of the ones that's been most outspoken about this. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my first thought was, why in the world would you do that? Why would you let them out for basically free? Okay.
Yeah.
But then as I read other people's opinions and think more about it, and then I saw the comment, I think it was even in the same article, because that article, man, I'll be honest with you, there was a lot to unpack in that article. It took me a few days to digest it, but my understanding is their legal team, I guess, said that they would basically get tied up in court for so long it wasn't worth fighting it.
Right.
So just go ahead and let them out. And I thought, well, that could open up a whole nother can of worms. What if another team wants to leave the conference? Could they say, well, it ain't worth the legal fight, let them go? Now, I know there's a difference between leaving with 6 years left on a deal versus leaving with, 1 or 2. But still, I mean, with all the chaos around college football, that's kind of dangerous. Maybe that Big 12 grant of rights isn't as ironclad as we all thought it was, right?
That was the impression that I got, was that it didn't, and that was almost exactly what I heard being said from Kansas State's Gene Taylor, that according to the attorneys advised that the Big 12's bylaws were not as rock solid as originally believed. Wink, wink. And the league would likely be tied up in litigation for years. I'll go to you next on that, Fitz. What are your thoughts here? And I think that Couz brings up a good question. What does this mean for the rest of the league?
Maybe Kyle Whittingham knows what he's talking about. I'm kind of moved on past this. At the end of the day, $100 million will be coming to the conference in one way or another, whether it's withhold the money that they weren't going to earn. See,
sure,
ESPN and Fox could have clawed that back and said, hey, you don't have these teams. So really, it's at this point that the entities, the TV entities, are so tied into all of this. They want this movement, and they're like, well, we're not going to get in the way of this by saying, we won't pay you this, or, they're just kind of saying, let's just move on. And, maybe they'll end up paying $20 million each. I don't know. All I know is they'll be gone next year, and I'm happy. I just want the conference to play better football because the conference stinks right now. I mean, stinks, like really stinky. El Stinkola in Spanish. Play better football.
Right. Before we talk about playing better football, Cody, what are your thoughts here about this? I know that it seems that Oklahoma State was one of the louder folks about this whole getting out early stuff. So what are your thoughts on that coming from the angle of OSU?
I mean, I personally don't give 13 craps anymore. I do think it's time to look forward to the future of the conference. I do think that, right now would not be a great time to strike the iron. So thank goodness we were able to get a deal done early on whenever the Big 12 was hot. And we did have a lot of things going well for us at that time. So shout out to Brett Yormark for having the timing down right. So who cares, man? The future looks great. Brett Yormark's one of the most innovative, if not the most innovative commissioner in the country right now. So we're in a good spot. Who gives 13 craps whether we get 2 mil, 10 mil, 100 mil? I don't think it
14.
matters.
I don't know. Shit.
Don't care.
I just want to say that 14-year-old boy from Stillwater really knows what he's talking about.
Dang, Fitzy had to do me like that.
And I agree with Cody. I mean, this paved the way too for us to add the four corner schools.
Right.
So at the end of the day, everybody's better off. So
except for the Pac-12. This is amazing because the Pac-12 is playing the best football of anyone right now. Like Cody just said, timing is everything. If this had been a year later, it might be Kansas State and Iowa State that are Oregon State and Washington State. This is craziness how this played out so perfectly for the Big 12 because this conference had no fortune in the realignment game for so many years, and now it's very fortunate that it all took place right before this stinky season.
Well, isn't it ironic that a year ago, not even a year ago, 3 months ago, we could throw all this crap on the Pac-12 and it was a whole lot of fun. But now, when Utah wins, when Washington State wins, when Oregon State wins, Arizona, Colorado, when all these Pac-12 teams that are coming to the Big 12, I don't know, it's pretty fun. I find myself rooting for them now. So I think this has been not good for the Pac-12, right? You don't want to see a conference fall by the wayside, but at the same time, what they're doing right now is going to bring more leverage to the Big 12, which is why this money that we're talking about don't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I tend to agree with you guys. Coach, you have any objections to any of this stuff? I mean, I know we talked about a lot of it earlier in the season. We wanted it out. We wanted it out.
I think y'all already said it all. I'm gonna recap everything everybody said in 5 words. I don't give a shit.
It's 5.
Yeah.
I'm good at math.
Dr. Roybal has the math degree, I think. All right. Love it, Coach. Love it. Okay. Great stuff, gentlemen. Real quick, before we move on, thank you for the super chat, Neilio. You are the man. Good evening to you as well. He says, checking in from South Florida, KC Mo.
Neilio.
Oh yeah, that's he's been in here a few times. We are happy to have him anytime, folks. Welcome everybody. Just so you know, he did shave everything. He lost a bet. That's
everything
what you get for believing in Mike Gundy.
Now Now wait a minute. I need to get clarification here. What the hell is everything?
Cody.
We don't want to know. Move on.
I'm not sure I do.
Well, Jason said everything, so I thought he knew something I didn't or something.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother conversation.
I don't know. Is the head shaved? And yeah, I don't want to know the rest. I just said the head. Wow. Okay. Hey, I think you muted there, Cody. I think you muted yourself. You muted yourself, brother.
Yeah, I was trying to be all like halfway professional. My apologies. All right, my bad. Yeah,
We won't tolerate that on this podcast.
Right? No
how
shit.
dare I?
God.
How could you? How could you?
I'll go put myself back in timeout.
All right. Yes. A big shout out to Fitzy. Definitely a proud K-State alum.
Yes, he
Nelio
is.
says we will add that in there. Thank you again for the super chat, Nelio. Let's move on to the next topic. Ryan Day ranting, raving, freaking out on old Lou Holtz.
Hey, can I start this one? Can I start this one?
Please.
From what I could tell, though,
I've got
Coach,
5 words. I don't give a shit.
I'm sensing a theme.
Hey, there you go, Coach. Hey, you know, Coach, he took so many notes for this episode. He was so ready.
Yeah, he put in some overtime on prep here. Just so we all know, put in overtime on prep here. Yeah. Okay. So after the game, he freaked out about, and I hadn't even heard anything about it since then. I guess Lou Holtz was on a show. It seemed like it was a joke that was on. It was almost somebody that was impersonating Lou Holtz, asking Lou Holtz what he thought about Ohio State. It was some kind of a joke. He called him soft. That pissed off Ryan Day, even though, hey, man, you only got in because it was 10 guys. Hell, and you barely did.
You know what? Ryan Day's got to own that shit. I mean, at the end of the day, just like we got to own our shit at Notre Dame, he needs to own his at Ohio State. Because who has he beat that really matters?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they haven't beat anybody good.
Hey, you stop talking bad about Gundy. That's not fair.
You know my thoughts on Gundy.
Yeah, I loved it on your show last week, I think, when they were calling him I believe they were calling Gundy Dabo Light, something like that. Or
yeah.
But yeah, listen. And I would agree with Stephen G here. Why didn't Notre Dame win? And here's the thing. Let me go around starting here. Do you not feel like, and we'll start with you on this one, Fitz. What do you feel like? Do you think that was a little much? I mean, Lou Holtz is 86 freaking years old.
Right.
You ought to have a little more reverence for the guy than that, it seems like.
I agree with that. But I'm also just amazed that someone had Lou Holtz on a show. But he wasn't good when he was in his prime at doing shows.
No,
he was. It was. I don't know.
Lou's not a guy you need to put in front of the camera and a
beat
mic.
Up so much by old guy. What was the old dude's name that he used to be on there on ABC with him? The old offensive lineman, Mark May.
Mark May.
Yeah.
Mark
That guy
May,
was
yeah.
such a douchebag, man.
Well, he went to Pitt.
Every time we roll Lee Corso out there, it's like pushing Biden on stage. It feels like it should be a crime.
Yeah, it is weird. It's weird.
He doesn't know what's happening, but we just
I
keep
don't either.
Down by
we
bringing Lou
just
Holtz
keep letting them put heads on, and we give him guns. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I agree.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know. It's
I ain't gonna talk bad about old guys because I'm there, boys.
not quite that old, but
y'all just tell. Hey, I just want y'all to do one thing. You tell my ass when y'all don't want me on here anymore. Don't keep me on here.
Like it was too far, not far enough. Just right. What were your thoughts, sir? Cody.
What me on what?
Was it too far, not far enough?
Oh, no. Here's okay. They are softer. Okay, but every single team in the United States of America is technically softer. They're softer than our generation. We're softer than our dad's generation. Coach is softer than the Great Depression's generation. So, we all have certain things that we know inherently are factual, and we are softer. We're going to keep getting softer. So, technically, it's stupid that anybody's even getting mad about it because it's technically the truth.
Well, come on, they're soft anyways. I don't want to hear that shit anyways. I mean, it's not like he lied, right? Well, Couz, what do you think? I'm sorry, I don't want to jump in there.
Well, no, that's all right. I mean, I don't mind the coach getting fired up and using things for motivation.
Sure,
but to go after Lou Holtz on national television is a little over the top, in my opinion.
Why don't you do it before the game? Would be my question.
Right, and do it in the locker room like Dan Lanning did. Don't. And I know Dion is not an 86-year-old man, so I'm not trying to make the comparison. I'm just talking about the time. There's a time and a place and a way to do things. That was not the way to do it, in my opinion. And I think Ryan Day made himself look worse.
I do too.
By doing what he did. I mean, Lou Holtz is if he comes on a show and somebody asks his opinion, he's supposed to give his opinion. That's his job. That's what he gets paid. It's what they're paying him to do. Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're gonna ask the ex Notre Dame coach that won the last national championship that question.
Right.
And you expect a different answer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like all of a sudden, now that Dion has become a coach, every coach in America feels the need to be brash and call people out and do all this stuff. Like everybody's got a set, everybody's grown a set all of a sudden.
The age of the hot take.
Yeah. But I mean, you didn't used to see this before with coaches. They would always use, now it's more exciting. It's more entertaining,
right?
Gives us more to talk about. But they used to always give coach speak. Well, we don't pay any attention to that stuff. That's
exactly.
Just they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, and it's like I said, the only really thing that bothered me about it is if you were so pissed off about it, why don't you say it before you won? If you're have some stones and come out and say it before.
You think he'd have said that shit if they'd have got their ass beat?
Nope.
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
Of course not. That's why I don't think he said it before the game. That's the whole point. So, I've always called him Lincoln Light. I'll stick with it there. All right. Let's see. Next up. Okay. Now we're on to the other OSU, slow issue, Oklahoma State University. Wow. And Gundy.
Hey, I hope you can read good. Read between these lines.
It's all good, brother. It's all good. Yeah. Will Mike Gundy survive after losses to South Alabama and Iowa State in what Cody called the pillow fight? Cody, we'll go to you first.
No, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way he survives this. There's absolutely no way. And it's not because of the loss. It's not because of the double losses. It's because 5 of the last 7 losses, Mike Gundy's got on the podium, and he says the same thing every single time. Well, we got out coached. We got outplayed. We got out hustled. Okay, but you're the coach.
Sometimes you get out coached before you get out of there.
You keep keeping the same coaches, and you keep having the same problems, and you keep saying the same things. So this has just been an opportunity, unfortunately, to shed a lot of light on the fact that Gundy doesn't really run this program. For 6 years. He was more at his farm than at practice. And it's just he decided to do this CEO role, right, where he was going to sit in his ivory tower and conduct things. And you know what? Before the NIL and transfer market, he may have had this thing running like he thought he did. But
tell us about that.
The game.
Tell us about that part, because now it came out after the loss to South Alabama last week that they had a meeting of major boosters, the Pokes with a Purpose, the collective there, and of course administrators before the season started. And it was more of the same from Gundy, talking about how he hated the NIL, how he hated the transfer portal. Is this right?
Yeah. He also supposedly made a comparison to him being like Dion. Like the thing, that's what it is, guys. The CEO, ivory tower style of approach. He thought it would work. It did not work. And instead of addressing anything last year, he gave everybody the middle fingers and said, I'm not firing anybody. I'm not changing anything. I'm not doing anything. All I'm going to do is give the presentation that I'm going to be more present, right? I've been on this show talking about the reason I really thought we might win 9-10 games is because Gundy was actually all the time at practices. He was actually in position meetings. He was actually involved with some of the players. And when he's made jokes over the years, like, I finally know players' names now, he wasn't joking. Guys, he didn't know Justin Wright, right? The big time 230 some odd tackle transfer from Tulsa. He didn't know he was on the daggone team until a few days later when he met him. He had no clue Justin Wright was a Cowboy. This is normal. I unfortunately have been getting flooded. Jason, you know I've been putting this stuff together for almost a year now. And I tried to fully buy in and pump the sunshine and fill everybody with as much Jack Daniels infused orange Kool-Aid as possible. And I got burned. So now it's time that he needs to pay the piper. And the piper right now is you had your opportunity last year to fire everybody and put on the presentation that you care enough to change, but you didn't do it. You did the opposite. To me, and what I'm seeing now is quite a few Cowboys are coming around to the idea that sometimes you lose your fastball and the game passes you by, and we're there. We're 100% there.
Okay. Keaton didn't agree with you there, but he talking about that they're not going to let him go unless they somehow go under 500. I think that's going to happen.
That's happening.
He keeps his staff and doesn't hit the portal. I think that I could see all those things happening because he seems like he's digging his heels in. He's been digging his heels in.
No, I guarantee you, I can't guarantee anything, but Chad Weiberg is not a dumb cookie. The athletic director at Oklahoma State has known Gundy for 25, 30 years. He knows the pulse. He's known that Gundy hasn't been around. But he's basically at one point in time like, listen, dude, I know what you do. I know how you do it. If we keep winning and we keep getting better, then fine. You do your thing. You hang out on your farm. But if things go tits up like they did last year, you better jump in, cojones deep, and fix it. And he refused to do that. So you can't just fire people now. It's too late for that. It's too late. The players are not going to stick around for this. The former players, the players' parents, they're not okay with what's happening in Stillwater because it's been happening for a long time. Guys, I hate OU, okay? But you guys have guys that are promoting your university. They're repping your brand. They're helping you recruit, and they're trying to get commits to Norman. We don't get that because people don't want to send their buddies to Gundy. They don't want to do it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, I got 5 words again. Fire Mike Gundy very soon.
Yeah. I like it.
So Kansas State had an aging coach who, fortunately retired before all this hit. But Bill Snyder was in his 70s and late 70s. And I can't imagine how much he would push back against the NIL, against the transfer portal, all this stuff.
Sure.
I know that from the stuff he said before all of it existed.
Right.
To see a coach in his 50s turn into a surly old fart that acts like he's 70 and can't possibly change, it is astonishing to me.
Agreed.
It's absolutely incredible to hear him basically say, I'm too old to change. We're not going to do it. The hell with all you, and goes out and lose football. Like you said, if Chad Weiberg would put up with that, I've known Chad a long time because he was at K-State a long time. He'd put up with that, but he'd also say, well, we're not winning. So now the consequences are coming. And I don't know what the contractual situation is, how much the buyout is, what the financial situation is within the athletics department, but this is unsustainable. It's only going to get worse.
And I think before we go to you, Couz, I feel like there's cause here. There's a lot of allegations out there about verbal abuses coming from Casey Dunn, the offensive coordinator. There's all kinds of stuff that's gone on within this program, even going all the way back to Les Miles, that's been covered up and not talked about. I think that they know about it within the administration. There's plenty of reason why they could go back and do it. Couz, what are your thoughts on this? Will he survive?
I think he'll survive. He'll make it through the season for sure. If they're able to turn it around somehow this season, maybe they keep him. And normally I would have said, yeah, Mike Gundy has a long leash because of his history there. But man, it's went from a long leash and him being okay to it's an absolute dumpster fire like overnight.
Yep.
And I just don't it's not about what he's done, but it's about the direction they're going, and it is off a cliff and it's fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think if they don't make a change, they may
pay for it.
And right now, I mean, Oklahoma State is one of those teams in the new Big 12 that could be at the top of the food chain, man.
Absolutely.
Horrible timing.
They cannot afford to let this happen.
Gundy said they were going to be at the top of the food chain. Yep. Those words came out of his mouth, and they're not. And like you said, Couz, they're headed. The bus is going in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
and it's not going to get any better.
Well, I mean, you absolutely nailed it, Coach. The tube's already out of the toothpaste, right? This stuff has been pushed around and buried for years. What did I miss? Is the cat back?
The tube's out of the toothpaste?
The toothpaste out of the tube.
Now that shit. Hey, listen. With all due respect,
what are you drinking over there, Cody?
With all due respect, I prefer my way. But yeah, the buyout situation, Jason, I think you nailed it. There is reasons 100% for Gundy to sit down at the table, because I'm not here to just bash Gundy. He's the greatest coach of Oklahoma State history, but he did that because he was so young, hungry, and aggressive at one point in time. He would sleep in his office till 2 a.m. a decade ago to out-scheme people. He doesn't do it. He hasn't been doing it since 2017. He can't magically wake up and do it tomorrow. And every year now, we're going
He's been
backwards.
in love with his own legend for a long time, and I've said this a lot, that his legend was full of crap mostly. The guy is 13-33 against 10-win teams. He's beaten 3 Power 5 opponents that had a winning record in 19 years, and he's 3-15 against Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Who
dude,
the
I
hell
talked
gets
about
to
it
stay around for that long?
I talked about it on my show today. His winning percentage against teams that have a higher strength of schedule or RPI is like 20-something%. So he has a lot of wins, right? He's got a lot of W's. He just doesn't win the big ones that matter. And because he has so many W's and he's a former Cowboy, we let it go and we let it go and we let him do his thing. And he's got a couple donors that have been able to strong arm people in the past. Right. Boone's not here to counterbalance those people that are Gundy's homie buddies that happen to have millions and millions of dollars. It's just not there. But yeah, man, Chad Weiberg knows that Oklahoma State should be at the upper half of the Big 12 all day, every year. And he knows that we're going so far backwards right now. We cannot keep waiting.
It's not going to get easier. It's not about to get easier.
No.
We'll bring welcome to the show from Unfair Sports, Mr. Eric Cooper. What's up, buddy?
Gentlemen, I deem this a pleasure to be in such pleasant company.
Oh, screw off.
Hey, man.
For the most part.
Hey, Fitz is in some kind of mood tonight, man. It's been kind of fun. Do you have anything to add on Mike Gundy and his survival? Will he survive? What's going on there, Coop?
So I think that the boldness to do something to Gundy, just initially, after Mike Holder was gone and after, T-Boone moved on, it just, that layer of protection can only survive so long, because now you've got a bevy of different things, from the wearing the shirt a few years back, some of the stuff that he's done with the transfer portal, anytime that anybody wants to bring back, any of the comments that apparently Mike had said, or any of the, disgruntled ex-players, because as much as it's not that big of a deal, like Spencer Sanders left, yes, but people are now watching Spencer Sanders not as a traitorous bastard that decided to go for NIL somewhere, but he's willing to be the potentially third string quarterback on a lower upper middle SEC, and instead of be around Gundy's crap anymore. So I think that listen, you thought that they would have learned with Travis Ford on the contract that they gave Travis Ford, but then they doubled down with Gundy. And they're like, also, Mike, we're going to have one person that really has anything to do with firing you. And it's going to be you. So we just want you to work in best interest of yourself and the university. Those are two separate things. And hard decisions get made all over the place. Couz, you and I became friends online, with the Huggins stuff. And I think that you were taking the deals like, hey, listen, I'm not condoning the action, but, to say that this guy didn't care about the school, didn't care about the athletes, it was silliness. Mm-hmm. And so these hard decisions are being made around the place. And, going into this new Big 12, you don't want to start as, the floor mat.
Right.
Exactly. Oh,
you're muted.
Jason's
it's okay.
Muted.
Sorry about that.
I remember
about
my first
possible
podcast.
names too. Yeah. Hey, I can mute somebody else here too. I do know how to do that, buddy. All right.
Jason,
I could think of a few names, and you had people asking who your team will be a better pick than as the head coach. That's realistic. I think there's a bunch of guys out there. I would probably start with Jeff Traylor at UTSA, Willie Fritz at Tulane. Those would be. I'd make them tell me no first. The guy at Texas State right now,
Kenny.
has been Kenny. He's been unbelievable everywhere he's been. These are guys that are hungry about, when you talk about Jeff Traylor, he's been a great recruiter, a hungry recruiter, and somebody that would take that on really hard if you could get him to come.
And would we have to pay any of them $7.5 million?
You might. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think so. I don't think you would.
Levy to OSU.
At least you'd get your damn money's worth.
Yeah.
Listen, that's the thing is if you were paying that kind, I agree, because they're going to get out there and actually recruit and work the transfer portal and things like that, without having to be, kicking and screaming the whole time. Mm-hmm. Again, I feel like I don't understand why he's lasted this long. I definitely have never understood that Stillwater belief that, you're never going to get a better coach than Mike Gundy. I've never understood that.
Well, another reason Weiberg definitely needs to kind of make a move here is we're about to build that $400 million facility that'll allow us to do surgeries and stuff right there on campus.
Right.
Well, what is that going to matter if we're a 3, 4, 5 win team all the time? It ain't going to matter. And we're not going to get the necessary money to be able to build it fast enough anyways. Weiberg knows the trajectory of Oklahoma State is not going anywhere positive right now. And we're at a very critical time with so many new teams coming in that are going to be willing to invest to try to skyrocket to the top with us. Like we coming in with an advantage, right? We're a legacy. We have one of the nicest stadiums. We have some of the best facilities. We're doing more, but we're not able to capitalize on it. And I think Weiberg is very well aware of the temperature on that.
So you guys we've all seen the movie with this plot. Spoiled rich kid gets partial control of daddy's company and runs it to the ground. We watch that thing and you're like, who the hell would just allow that to happen? Apparently some folks in Western Oklahoma, because that's, it is what it is. It's he had the blessing of T-Boone. Mike Holder didn't have the, potatoes to do anything about it. And, again, the whole Travis Ford double down thing and the buyout, it's not so much the contract. Like Gundy's absolute. He is the best coach that he pulled Oklahoma State. I mean, who's going to argue with me too much that outside of OU, Oklahoma State hasn't just been on par for the rest of the Big 12, since its inception. So, but we watch it now, and somebody's going to have the taters to say, "Hey, listen, man, we want you to go out on top. We don't want you to be hated." Because how do people feel about Bob Simmons?
Yep.
Do people enjoy Bob Simmons?
Hey,
they don't mind him because the 97, but no, you're 100% right. Gundy is tanking his own legacy.
Well,
and it's sad to watch. It's like watching, Ollie. Okay, I don't want to put him on Ollie level, but it's like watching one of those heavyweights just fight 2, 3 too many fights. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't think of him. You don't think of him as the guy that was dominating people all the time. You think of him as the guy that was too egotistical and selfish to do the right thing, like Bob Stoops did. Like we don't have to talk about Lincoln, but Bob did the right thing for OU, and they actually instantaneously got a little bit better. So Bob was right, and now he's still a legend. He's such a legend that he can fill in for games when he that's Gundy could have done all that and had all that,
Yeah.
and he pooped it down the toilet, or he is.
Well,
You know,
he
We
has
need to
pooped it
save
down
him
the
from
toilet.
himself.
And guys, between taters and toothpaste, Gundy's in deep shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so would Oklahoma State fans, I mean, it would be a little bit of a coup, but would Oklahoma State fans accept somebody like Jim Leonard?
Who? Why would I don't know why you wouldn't.
I mean, yeah. And somebody mentioned Lance Leipold. To be honest with you, he was one of the top of my list, but KU's willing to spend the money and invest, and it's like they've been waiting on a reason.
It's a bit far fetched to me, right? I don't know.
Huh?
I think if you'd gotten him before Kansas got him,
easy,
maybe.
yeah. But right
But
now,
they haven't been good in so long that now they got a coach that's got some chops.
Yeah,
pretty sure they probably want to keep him.
Yeah,
They'd
there's a
hire
lot of
Ness
good
before
coaches.
that.
yeah,
There's
and he
yeah.
seems like the type of guy that's pretty content and happy with how Lawrence operates.
The progressive Big 12 has a phenomenal outset of coaches. I mean, just an absolute, you know, you can say whatever. Tech was got too much hype early in the season for other reasons, but I still think that Joe McGuire is rock solid. You have Whittingham coming in, you know, in Utah, the fella at BYU who is he just does a great job. And
Kalani Sitake, that dude is a bad dude.
Sitake he's a bad man, but you look across the board, and now what kind of coach is Gundy when he doesn't have OU on the schedule? Because I promise you anything, there's been years that we went into Stillwater or they came here and we knew if they have Gorilla Nuts, they're going to stomp us. We cannot cover anything past 10 yards. And then Gundy doesn't throw it deep one time. Like it's right. Like it's almost scripted as like a parody and a tragedy for Oklahoma State fans, just because you can kick the hell out of anybody else. But then here comes OU rolling to town, and it almost matters nothing about how good they are because it's going to be the same outcome.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about kicking everybody else. I mean, go back to the teams they've beat. And, you know, we talked about that earlier. They've not really beat anybody.
Can I share my favorite?
Not when it mattered. Not when it mattered, right? Week 10, week 11, that's when we always fall apart.
Yeah.
So
it's rinse, wash, repeat.
One of the last years that the Big 12 Media Days was at the Cowboys practice facility in Frisco, I found myself in an interesting predicament. I went to the restroom, and up to the stall next to me slides Mike Gundy, and his mullet was in full display. And I'm peeing next to Mike Gundy. We got a little barrier, luckily for him. I couldn't see if he had two mullets. And I just want to reach over and I want to pet the mullet so bad. It's like this urge comes over me. Touch the mullet. Now, what made it really complicated is I'm a right-hand holder.
Yeah, right.
And he was on that side, so I would have had to go across the pet, and that's awkward enough. Let alone.
And you didn't want to look ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't want to go too far. You know,
I'm well over that in my life. I look ridiculous, and I didn't do it. And now it strikes me that he went to shit when he cut the mullet. He should have never. It was a magical mullet.
It's kind of growing back though, right?
Guys, it hurts my heart to say this, but the mullet was mythical too. 2011 was unfortunately an anomaly. Without Malcolm Rodriguez and Devin Harper, 2021 doesn't happen. And Jim Knowles, right? Let's just call, because go back. What did we do offensively in 2021? Nothing. We'd run the ball up the gut 3 times, and then we'd be like, all right, go ahead, defense. So our defense had to kind of basically make themselves completely opposite from the offense. They had to operate independently, and they knew it, and it worked. And it made Gundy say, see, guys, I don't need to be here for us to be good. It was a death sentence for him. 2021 was not beneficial for Oklahoma State or Gundy, ironically enough.
Let me throw out one more name, only because if Kansas State makes it back to the Big 12 championship game, remember, Chad Weiberg was at K-State for a long time, and he knows Colin Klein really well. And Colin turned down the Notre Dame OC job because he just bought a farm outside of Manhattan, all that stuff. The family settled in. His mom's moved there, but Stillwater isn't so far away that you're not close to the farm at time, and the family may not have to move. So just throwing that out there. He may not be ready quite yet to be a head coach, but he's going to be a head coach.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of names out there, guys. I think there's a lot of names out there.
Yep.
You know, and we could start with a lot of them. I think that Sean Lewis, I mean, that's a possibility. Maybe not. I think that a lot of the guys that you guys, and I think that Colin Klein might be a great name, right? You know, I could think of a lot of guys that you would look at. Now, that being said, that just goes to prove that a lot of these folks that have been saying this over and over and over, well, you're never going to get another guy like Mike Gundy. I think it's the dumbest and laziest thing ever. And I just don't know. I mean, you know, when you're paying him national title winning coach money, and he's won one conference championship, don't tell me that a lot of folks wouldn't sign up for that shit, you know, because they would. Anyway, let's move on from that. Hey, let's talk about the other side of this. A year ago at this time, it appeared that Neil Brown was about to be out the door. Somehow he survives the new athletic director, you know, and it possibly, I don't know exactly what happened. And he started off 3-1. Did this save his job, Couz? Is he now going to get an extension and going to continue there at West Virginia?
I don't know that I'd go as far as to save his job yet because we're still alone. I mean, we're only a third of the way through the season, but it has definitely cooled his seat off. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And the fact that Neil Brown is basically doing everything right except winning, he's going to have a longer leash than what us fans may want, because I had a privilege of interviewing Green Baker today, and one of the things he said was, when you look at our football program, guys, there's a lot of good things going on.
Yeah. He's recruiting well, right?
Yeah, he's recruiting pretty well. I mean, he's introduced some new stuff to the program from an academic standpoint that's really good for players and the parents love. Just there's all kinds of, you know, mental health, nutrition, just every, you know, all this stuff that he's doing really well at. And he just hasn't been able to win games. Now, one of the arguments was, well, the AD was standing in his way because he wasn't really embracing NIL. And where it is, that's one of the reasons he got canned, because he was not embracing NIL. He did not want to allow coaches. Coaches are allowed to promote their school's NIL collectives.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Lyons was not allowing that to happen. Now, there are rules around it. They can't dictate where the money goes and all this stuff, but they are allowed to promote it and ask for money. And Ren Baker came in and they immediately started promoting our Country Roads Trust NIL collective. And next thing you know, it becomes one of the top 10 collectives in the country, according to On3. So, I mean, it's possible that he had a lot of things working against him. So if he can continue winning games, even though it's not pretty, even though they're winning games like Oklahoma State did in 21 with our defense, if we can keep winning games, man, and he can get to that 6-7 win mark, 7 is, in my opinion, is where he needs to be. Right. And if he gets there, I think he stays.
Because I'm looking at this schedule, there's wins out there. Because this conference, if I haven't said this yet, this conference is stinky. I don't know about TCU, but you go to Houston, you got Oklahoma State, you got Cincinnati and Baylor down there. There's very winnable games all over the Big 12 schedule this year.
Oklahoma and TCU coming up this weekend, and Oklahoma are the two toughest games, in my opinion, left on our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Now BYU's not going to be easy.
No,
Cincinnati's not. Cincinnati's and UCF are going to be tough games, but they're all winnable.
Right.
Yeah, Cincinnati's
defense. As a matter of fact, TCU's winnable. I don't think we'll win, but it's winnable. It wouldn't surprise me if we win.
We'll see what TCU really is. I mean, they're a little high.
Well, same with West Virginia. We'll see what West Virginia really is, because I think TCU's the best offense. Texas Tech's offense is not bad. They were able to put up 30 points on Oregon, so they're not bad. But I don't think they're TCU. What's that?
I would say, what do you feel about this comment here? Potential 7, 5, 8, and 5 in Morgantown. It looks better than what it has, but with the candidates that might be available, do you feel like maybe they should make that move now?
Not when you look at our roster. I mean, we are most of the best players on our team are underclassmen.
Mike
Right.
Gundy to Morgantown, baby.
Hell no.
There we go. It's broken here.
No, I just think when you look at Neil, you're going to set the program back. I mean, Mike Brown's been able to bring in, Nico Marchiol's a 4-star quarterback. He's brought in several 4-star running backs, several 4-star receivers. And a 4-star in West Virginia is like a 5-star.
He recruits well, right?
You know what I mean?
I mean, the guy recruits well.
Yeah. So I mean, he's bringing in talent. He's not been able to keep the talent has been the problem. Guys are transferring out on us at a high pay at a high rate.
Right.
With this, if this NIL collective continues to do well, we might be able to keep a lot of those guys on board. I mean, we almost lost a really high caliber player this past offseason. That I can't say who it is, but we almost lost a guy. He had one foot out the door because an SEC school was recruiting him really hard and offered him a large sum of NIL money. Country Roads Trust was able to step up to the plate, up the ante, give him a little more. They weren't able to match the SEC team's offer, but they were able to pay him more than he was getting, and he decided to stay. So that matters. NIL matters a lot, and now in today's landscape. So I'm hoping with Ren Baker at the helm, all of that, all the behind the scenes stuff that programs need, I'm hoping that will all improve, which in turn will hopefully help Neil Brown be more successful here. That's what we're hoping. But now look, if he goes out here and this thing turns and goes downhill and we only end up winning 4, 5, 6 games, I don't think he makes it. But I just don't see that happening. I think our defense is too good to let that happen, to be honest with you. They've been a huge, pleasant surprise. Go ahead, Cody. I'm sorry. Coop, I'm sorry.
On recruiting wise, I mean, in the future Big 12, West Virginia is 7 of 14. With only Cincinnati, Kansas, Arizona, TCU, UCF, and Tech in front of them. So I mean, they're in the top half of the new Big 12. Which includes Arizona State, Utah, and everybody. Right. So I mean, that means something.
Exactly, and this is not one of our better classes either. Keep that in mind. Our class last year, I would argue, is better, and even the class before that one was really good. So I think we were a top 30 class maybe in 21. I can't remember the exact number, but yeah, I mean he's recruiting pretty well, and he's not just looking at fit. He brings guys in that fit a need, not just how many stars they have. So
right.
I think if so, back to that comment, if you fire him at a 7-5 with 7 or 8 wins, I think that would be a huge mistake. I think you're just at that point you're starting over, and you don't need to.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think you end up losing after. I think you end up losing a lot of those guys that would have stayed if he stays,
Yeah.
So, definitely. Okay. Let's see. What did Fatty say? Art Briles to OSU.
He is around.
Bob Stoops. Yeah, he's around too. West Virginia this year. Bagman, you've been saying that all year. So,
who's his team? Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. He's been saying that all year. He's been
I don't think we're beating Oklahoma. I hope so, but I don't see it happening. Not in Norman, especially.
All right. Anybody else on the West Virginia situation? What do you see going on there as far as that goes? Fitz, I mean, that was Neil Brown was the guy that they were considering at Kansas State.
Yeah.
Aside from Chris Kleiman, is that correct?
Correct, 100%. He and Chris Kleiman were the 2 finalists. In fact, the committee was kind of split on him, and Gene Taylor said, "No, I know Chris Kleiman. I know what he'll do," and he was right. He nailed it. But Neil Brown's a hell of a coach. He just, things go south once in a while, and I have a feeling he might get it back on track here. I mean, what he's done so far this season is a really positive sign. I didn't expect them to win their last 2 games, and they have. And here we go. It's going to get interesting. I'm a Neil Brown fan, so I'm all in on it.
And guys, I have to say this as a coach, your administration is very critical to your success.
Right.
Whether people want to admit that or not, if you have a bad administration, a bad athletic director, I'm telling you, it carries over to the playing field in a huge, huge way. And I excuse me, I kind of believe that's what's happened to him. Is administratively he hadn't had the support, and Couz, you alluded to that he needed to be successful, and maybe now with that new AD, that changes that culture and gives him an opportunity to be successful.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Coop, you got anything to add there, Cody? Either of you guys?
No.
I like what West Virginia is doing. If they're kind of modeling after the defensive mindset, and you do have some talent at quarterback. I mean, you've got two pretty good athletes, regardless of how it shakes out. So, yeah, man, the blueprint. Kansas State. I mean, heck, we mentioned Colin Klein. How many times did we all beat our head against the wall because you knew Colin Klein was going to run the 4-hole, 6-hole, 3-hole, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? It's the same thing. So if they can hold serve and do that, then I think that'll be great, man. You guys know my perspective on the Big 12, and it would not be good for the Big 12 if OU or Texas won the Big 12 title this year. So I don't care who wins it, okay? As long as it's not one of those two, I don't care. I'll be a West Virginia fan, Cincinnati fan, BYU fan, K-State fan. I don't give 13 poops. It just can't be OU or Texas.
We'll get there in a minute. Stop jumping ahead, please. You have the notes.
I like how
you can't read good.
I like how Jason thinks we read the notes.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Notes?
You got him too, Coach. Shut up. All right. Hey, let's talk about this now. The team that West Virginia just took down over the weekend. I know we don't have a ton of time left with you guys, so I want to make sure we get this in. The honeymoon seems to be over for Joey McGuire at Texas Tech. Jerry Maguire, same thing. No, Joey's, and I think he's a good coach. But if you've watched any of their content the last couple of days, people are upset in Lubbock. I think rightfully so. But I also, you now lost your quarterback. He came in and tried to play on a broken leg for a play or two, and but things have definitely not gone very well there in Lubbock. What would you say to that as far as how, Coop, talk to us about what your thoughts were? I know that you were one of the guys that didn't really buy Tech this year anyway.
Yeah. So a lot of their momentum comes from beating OU and Texas late in the year. Listen, you can't have it both ways. Either OU was dog shit last year and that win meant nothing, and Texas was spastic and that game meant nothing, or it was two really, really good wins and it's vaulting your program into the next year. So I think that's where a lot of that came from. But it's the days of Sonny Cumbie and Cliff Kingsbury and all these guys. They haven't had a quarterback like that. They had a recipe and everybody caught up to it. And now Tech doesn't have that Mike Leach innovative, you could have a lesser athlete. And they got a lot of lesser athletes who were under recruited, and they brought them in and made every single freaking team in the country look like idiots, especially in the Big 12, because, guys like Wes Welker and Danny Amendola and stuff like that. Those guys are freaking perennial, All-Americans, now. And so it's people are going to trust the process. And if I was Joey McGuire, it's plain and simple. I point towards Norman and I say, listen, look what happened there. They had to do some rebuilding. This is going to be the year that we, just stay true to what's going on, speak to the recruits, make sure that the chemistry and the message stays the same, and say, guys, listen, we're going to get better every single week. We're going to go out there and we're going to keep pushing. And, they've got a pretty decent recruiting front happening right now. And I think they're number one in the new Big 12 for the 24. You just keep on with the message and the plan and say, like, listen, if this is down year, the dream still is there. Now, you match that with Lubbock, Texas, and so many other options and so many other different places. And only for so long in Michael Crabtree, yes. And only for so long can that really do it. So, I mean, can they survive a 4 or 5 win season after?
That was the question I was going to ask the next person up. You know, I'm going to go with Fitz here on this one too. That's the question I've got is, do you survive a loss to Houston? Do you survive a loss? I mean, you know, look, West Virginia was picked, not for nothing. West Virginia was picked to finish last. Not that anybody in the media ever gets it right, you know, on those media polls. But West Virginia was picked to finish last. Now they have definitely played above their pay grade and what the expectations are. And I'm not dogging on West Virginia. But when you have had Texas Tech expected as that quote dark horse team to win the Big 12 title, you know, they've got 19 seniors in starting positions, that kind of stuff. How many more games do you think they can afford to lose there? Fitz?
I think short of losing out or, you know, only winning one more game, I think he's too early in his coaching arc to make that kind of move.
I would hope,
but I'd also like to call out the media members who thought they were going to have a big season and play in the Big 12 championship. They're all idiots. They're dumb for doing it. And I'm not going to call anyone out for saying that Tech would play Kansas State in the Big 12 championship because that guy's a total moron.
Yeah, in fact, most of you guys were on this show when we kind of broke that down on who we thought was where. I know most of us, I had them as a dark horse team, but I have had Oklahoma and Texas in it with the possibility of K-State more than Tech. Now, that Cody, what are your thoughts on it? Do you feel like I am in agreement that you got to kind of let him have his thing. He just got one of the top recruits in the country to come in and play wide receiver, elite 11 quarterbacks everywhere.
There's no way that there's nothing justifiable other than something Mel Tucker level crazy to get rid of him, even if he doesn't win another game, because unfortunately you can't bottle up momentum and feed it to people. But Jerry Maguire, if you could bottle up and feed it, you know, you'd have something to gnaw on there. And they just did some stuff with their stadium. The excitement's still there. The high school coaching connections he has in the state of Texas is going to be massive. Yeah, he's on at least got to be a 3-year plan unless something really stupid happens, right?
I feel like with Dave Aranda being on his way out the door, more than likely they'd be more than happy if Joey McGuire got left because they would gobble him. He wouldn't be without a job for more than about 10 seconds, I would think. Couz?
Yeah, I think everybody is a little bit too quick to start jumping on Texas Tech here. They're not I don't think they're a bad football team. I really don't. Now, they didn't look great against us. I don't know how much of that was our defense was just that good, but they lost their start. You lose your starting quarterback in the middle of a game. It's never an easy adjustment to make. Even though Baron Morton's not a bad quarterback, I mean, he lit us up last year. Good. But but it's a mindset change. You know, they're different quarterbacks, different styles of play. Maybe even different game plans. I don't know. You know, I'm not a coach. I can't speak to that. But, Baron Morton was probably getting last snaps at practice throughout the week, so he's probably not prepared. I mean, there's so much that goes into that. They guys
game plan for your backup quarterback, man. You just don't.
No. I mean, when it happened to West Virginia 2 weeks ago, Neil Brown said, well, I had an entire notebook of plays. When Garrett got hurt, I was down to a half a sheet of paper. That was it. He said so what they do, he handed the ball off the rest of the game and threw a few little short passes. That was it. So, I mean, it changes everything, man. And then, guys, they had Oregon beat. They could have won that game. Does anybody think Oregon's a bad team?
No.
And Wyoming is not – I know it's Wyoming, but they played in Wyoming.
Wyoming's good.
And Wyoming's not a bad team either. I watched some of that game. That Wyoming quarterback's pretty darn good.
Yeah, but when you're up 17-0, there's not really a whole lot of excuses for losing.
I'm not saying there's excuses, but what I'm saying is, and we got to take into consideration, this guy has never coached college football before as a head coach.
Right.
There's going to be a learning curve, guys. He's not going to come in year 2 and all of a sudden be Nick Saban. I mean, give him some time. Let him build it. He's recruiting really well. Give him some time. Let him build his roster. The guys, keep in mind, a lot of guys on this roster are probably not guys he recruited. May not be guys he would recruit, to fit his system. Let him cycle through for 2 or 3 seasons to get his types of players in there, then see where you are. Then if you lose, then it's a different conversation.
Yeah, I won't get too deep in this. I kind of think it may have something to do with the offense that they run myself. But Coach, what are your thoughts there?
Number one, Joey McGuire's not going anywhere, guys. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one, and several of you have already touched on this, let him do his job, give him some time. But also, guys, and something that people don't like to talk about, but I've been watching Texas Tech football back when Coach Dykes was there. As a kid, I've watched it since then. And Texas Tech, whether anybody likes to hear this statement or not, they're more concerned about winning basketball games than they're concerned about winning football games. And so administratively, I don't give a shit if they lose the rest of their games. They're not getting rid of Joey McGuire. Okay. So, but I think the guy, they've played some decent teams. They've had some bad things. The quarterback deal go wrong. There's been some things happen. And sometimes years are just like that. When you're in coaching, you think you're going to have a hell of a year. And things just start to happen that things don't fall into place that year. And he's kind of had some things go bad. So I don't see Joey going anywhere. I think he's going to be there. And I think he'll end up being successful there. Now, successful, I don't know what exactly that means, successful at Texas Tech. But he's going to be competitive. I'll say that. He'll be competitive and get things going. So, but he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. Last thing, let's do this real quick. And now that let's just kind of we all kind of put in our predictions for the Big 12 season. Now that we are a quarter way through it, there's been a lot of differences and stuff. How would you probably reshuffle them, Fitz? And can anyone stop Oklahoma and Texas from being in the Big 12 championship on their way out? I know everybody says that's a terrible thing to have happen, but do you think that there's anybody good enough to stop them?
Well, first, no offense, I'm not sold on Oklahoma. They haven't played a damn team yet. They just haven't played anybody. They're not playing anybody this weekend with Iowa State. So we'll see how they measure up against Texas. And not to be bah humbug about everything, but maybe that Texas win over Alabama wasn't as good as we thought it was. It's still impressive. Don't get me wrong. Winning there is amazing, but Alabama looks like a totally different team than what we've seen the last few seasons. But I do look at the schedule and see so many bad teams in the Big 12. I'm looking at this schedule now that Kansas State's past UCF, which is a pretty good team. They're going to score a lot of points on people. I look down the road and I see Oklahoma State that is struggling and Texas Tech that's struggling. And then they come on for TCU. We still don't know about TCU. They might be really good or they might be just another okay Big 12 team. And then they play Houston and then they go to Texas. And it's amazing for me to look down through the next 8 weeks, and the two toughest games, at least in my belief, are Texas and Kansas for K-State. This conference is so watered down this season. People are going to find wins. They just are. But I think Kansas State or Kansas will be in that Big 12 championship unless I really see something from Oklahoma. They haven't played anyone yet. And that part of that's just the misfortune of losing that game with Georgia or whatever it was. But still, they're getting a lot of credit for beating teams that nobody else gets credit for beating.
Yeah. David Talks Buffs. Thank you for the super chat, David. He's another one of our favorite guys. Sorry about the Notre Dame coach.
Thanks, David.
Y'all keep it up. Yeah. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more in a bit. Look. Yeah, so if this is a good question, Mike says. So if we beat Texas, will you be one of the ones saying we beat a bad Texas team? Yeah, you just pissed a lot of people off there. Just so you know, Fitz.
I like it. That's my life's mission.
And Fitz, I'm with you, brother.
I just gotta see it. I'm not saying they're bad. I need to see it.
No, and I think that it's a fair, for the most
Proof's
part,
in the
it's a
pudding.
fair statement that what they have done is they've taken care of business like they should against teams that they should beat, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And defensively, they're definitely on another level than they were a year ago, which is, that's really not hard to do. But they're number 4 in the country defensively. It's been
They should
good.
be. I mean, look who they played.
Fair enough, but they did the things that the guy that they played against last week at quarterback is the guy that I'm not going to sit here and just take up for OU. What I would tell you is they did what they should have done there. They made him become a passer. They couldn't beat him. That's what you want a good defensive team to do. Do you not, Coach?
Yeah, but I want to see I want to see him play somebody, not just focus on a quarterback. I want to see
talked
him
about that before. They haven't. They would have had Georgia had it not been for the SEC move and them changing that out. That would have been on the schedule. I don't know that they would have beaten them, but
I'm still not sold on Texas either. I mean, people are goo eyes about Texas, and I'm still not sold on Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Anyone outside OU need to? Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Y'all are like a pack of hyenas, man.
It is a pack of hyenas.
You OU fans are unlike anything I've ever seen in my life.
That's
as long as you say nice things about OU, they will love you to death, kiss you, hug you. You say something mean, it's like the fangs come out.
Well,
but I love it. I love it though. That's what makes you guys awesome because you're so passionate.
And Couz, you don't even have to say anything mean. You can say something factual.
Oh, Coach. See, here you go. I love it. Coach's a little salty about this weekend. I get it.
Though. Well, I'm still a little pissed off. I got a little burr under my.
Did you see Hank's comment? Look at Hank's comment. That is.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Hell, I know. I'm with him. Hell,
I know you love it.
I'm with him all the way.
Awesome.
Oh gosh.
Oh man, that's pretty funny stuff. Okay,
I'll tell you, you have some of the best. You have one of the best chat rooms on YouTube, dude. I just got to tell you,
they're pretty awesome, man. Our audience is definitely amazing. We love these guys. We couldn't do it without them. I would say that Oklahoma fans can definitely be out of control when it comes to some stuff, but not most of my audience. Now the fangs will come out a bit. But they're not those unreasonable.
No, I don't mean it. And I don't mean that in a,
they're not good fans.
That's exactly. They're passionate, man. That's what's so great about college football. That's what makes it awesome. Unlike any other sport in the world.
Yeah. I agree. And it's like that in a lot of places too. I would agree.
West Virginia fans are the same. There's just not as many of us.
The 11th man was supposed to be Peyton Bowen. That's shots fired right there.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Oh, yeah, that was a shot fired right there. Yeah. Ouch. All right. Fitzy, I know you got to get to another show. I'm going to let you get on out of here before you do. Please let us know how to
West
find
Virginia
you.
Sucks.
I never thought I'd hear you say that out loud. It's you can check us out. Our Go Power Cat channel is growing like crazy. We do daily videos. We do our own lives. We do our podcast, except for one that I'm about to record. Nobody gets to see that in person. We just have to listen. It's like Mike Gundy. I'm not adjusting. I'm not going to do all my podcasts on video, but come check us out. The Go Power Cat channel. We have a lot of fun.
You're not going to be at the farm? You're not going to be at the farm?
No, I'm not going to be at the farm. I need I just thinking about farming makes me want to take another nap.
Tick, we definitely appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, brother, love you, man.
Anytime we can have you on there, we love you to death. So, anytime you would like to come on, please do. And hey, excited about the rest of the season. I didn't get to ask you where you thought they were going to finish up, but are you still K-State, and who would be your backup getting in there?
Look, Oklahoma probably. I mean, again, I'm not saying Oklahoma's not good. I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen them play someone of substance that can really challenge them. And when we get there, I'll be sold. Venables is a great coach. I've been around him a long time. I've known him since he was a player. So, God, I'm old. But it's going to be interesting. But like I said, I look at that K-State schedule without Oklahoma on it, which is good for both schools. It's an advantage. So it's a little watered down this year, but it's going to be a fun season. I think K-State's really good. They just didn't play well enough at Missouri, and Missouri played their ass off. And I still can't explain how losing at an SEC program drops you from 15 to 29. But hey,
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thanks, boys.
again, we appreciate having you on, and we will talk to you again soon. Hey, make sure you get over there and check him out at Go Power Cat on YouTube. Yeah, he's a fun follow on Twitter too if you're a Twitter fan. So get in there and check it out.
I'm a known
Great stuff, Fitz.
See you, boys.
All right, man.
See
See
you,
you
Fitz.
later. All right, everybody, relax on freaking Fitz a little bit. All right, the dead comment, no, no. This guy's, but okay. All right, moving on. Let's see. We heard you say it, Fitz. No takebacks. No, look, he's gonna look. Most of the Big 12 folks are not happy with Texas and Oklahoma. We know that. It's okay. You don't have to worry about that. All right. Pretty sure that nobody's school beat Cincy. Coach's beloved Notre Dame is South Bend. What? That was a while back and with a different coach, but okay. Way to bring it, Fitzy. And then Missouri, soft, sweet, and marshmallows, but he's feeling better. All right. Here we go. He is beating the F out of cancer. Absolutely. Love me some Tim Fitzgerald, though, man. This guy, he's one of the best in the business. So, again, we asked him.
He's a great guy.
He is. And listen, I want you guys to be able to give your opinion here, and you guys know that as well. So it is what it is. All right.
Oh, I will.
Oh, we know. Coach, this is why you're here. Couz, I know you don't have a ton of time either.
Yeah, I'm about to run soon, man.
Let us know if you were to recalibrate now, what are your expectations for the champions, the top 2 or 3?
I'll be honest with you. My top 4 has been Texas, Oklahoma. Well, I can't remember the exact order. I think I had Texas and Texas Tech playing the conference title game. Obviously, the Texas Tech part has gone out the window. Right. I actually had Kansas 3rd, if I recall, and Oklahoma 4th. So far, that could be playing out. Now, obviously, those two could get flipped. But I still think Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas could end up in that top part, along with K-State maybe.
I agree.
And Oklahoma. I mean, you're going to have four teams basically vying for that final spot. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas State, and Kansas, in my opinion, are the 4 teams that have a shot.
Okay. Coop, did yours change any at all from the first part of the season?
No, I said OU in Texas, and
if you were going top 4 though, or whatever, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I said OU, Texas, Kansas State, Kansas, and I believe that Tech Tech was either 5 and Kansas was 4, or vice versa. But that's still it. Is if you watch, I mean, if you've been watching the OU games and like legitimately watching them, this is completely different than anything we've seen on defense since 2008. There is. What is it? We were out 2 starters and we lost a 3rd one on defense this week and still held Cincinnati to 6 points. I mean, this defense hasn't been played. Even I think, the year that we played UCLA and Kyler's year, they weren't anything at that point, but we couldn't stop them. Any type of running quarterback was good for 350 total yards on us, no matter what. And this is again. I mean, this last week we lose to Cincinnati last year. I am 100% sure on that one. That defense won the game, and the special teams was dog crap too. So we won it on defense, and it is they're opportunistic. Danny Stutzman looks like he is. I mean, he's going to be vying for Buckeyes and All-American stuff. I mean, it's. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You're playing assignment football, and you've been the defensive player in the nation and Big 12 Player of the Week. He is the heart and soul of his defense, and he's goofy as all can get out. But he is, he is romping right now. Of the 2, I mean, again, we're going to have to see Texas. I still don't think that if whatever happens on October 7th, OU Texas, I still don't think that has a bearing for everything to end up a specific way or not, because you could see you could see some crumbling. If Texas, comes out and OU beats Texas, you're going to have a lot of fans that are already starting to call for, let's just move on. Like, obviously it's not Ewers, but I still think a lot of the pitfalls that Texas I believed in still are out there. Kansas State, I still don't know how they lost that game. It was just absolutely crazy. But Kansas State is always good for a stinker and then come out and then just run the Big 12.
Yeah.
Guys, I said UCF was dog crap at the beginning of the season with Reese Conley. I still don't believe in him. Oklahoma State, a lot worse than I thought. Obviously, Texas Tech. Does anybody know what BYU is? I don't know if anybody really has an idea about what BYU is at this point. I mean, are they a 4-4, going into this final stretch in the conference, or are they, because they're tough and they'll grit out and they'll grind out games, and if you get in a dogfight with them, that it's their advantage. I mean, they're full of like 37-year-old men, so they just want to go to bed. I mean, I still think it's OU, Texas, Kansas State, and again, we'll see what Kansas plays, a decent defense, see what that offense looks like. Play a decent offense, see what their defense does. Nobody wants to get in a fight with West Virginia, just because it's when you got a team who obviously loves the head coach, and for him, they're fighting for themselves and for Neil Brown. So anybody I didn't mention otherwise than that, I just don't know if it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, Cody, jump in there and let us know what you. I know you had Okie Light playing for the Big 12 championship, so we're gonna obviously.
No, I did not. Don't you lie on your own channel. I had K-State and Texas. I had those State in the top 4. I did not have Kansas.
I was pretty sure that you made that prediction on your show that day.
Hell no.
Okay,
no, I soaked up all of the 9-10 win stuff. I did do that, but I had Kansas State and Texas preseason. I think I'm going to stick with that just because I'm not going to admit on here that OU is pretty good. I'm not going to do it. So I'll stick with K-State, Texas. And we gotta give flowers to KU. I think I had them like 6.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes I wish I was more deaf. But yeah, man, I Kansas offensively, what they're doing is so creative, innovative. You can tell it looks fun. You can tell those players are having fun because that offense is just they might beat Texas and it'd be 100% real this time. So yeah, I was sleeping on KU. I slept on West Virginia. I bought into Gundy's offseason bullshit. That's on me, and the OU is better than I'm going to admit. There you go.
Fair enough. I'll let you off the hook there. All right. We don't have to go into the Sooners being slept on stuff. There's a lot of folks around the country saying the same thing that we just heard in here from Fitz, and now some of you other guys as well. I believe that I would tell you that they are being slept on, but I like it. Let them sleep. It's
not a normal position for OU
when you
fans.
play
That's for
Texas, and if you could win that game or even keep it close, then I think that. But again, this schedule sets up whether or not anybody likes it or not. The schedule sets up the way it does for because of the Big 12. They didn't get their own schedule. They would have been playing Georgia in the non-conference. That got changed because of the fact that they're moving conferences. And you can only play the teams that are on your schedule. So they're doing what they're supposed to do. I love it that they're being slept on myself. That's just kind of where I'm at on it. And, I'm good with that. Do you got a time to
I'm going to be so hammered drunk, white girl wasted. I ain't going to be able to hear that dumbass
white
song.
Girl wasted. I love that saying. Couz, do you have enough time to talk about Coach Prime and the Oregon beatdown, or do you got to get?
I'll talk about that and then I'll get, because I do want to talk about that.
Let's talk about that. First. Now let's do these Colorado Buffaloes recover from that. They had a lot of people talking about they hadn't played anybody. Now TCU is kind of being resurgent. I'm of the opinion that they probably have a better shot against SC than they ever would have had against Oregon, particularly on the road. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole thing was the whole game with TCU. I did a show with a TCU person today.
Yeah,
that whole game. How do you prepare for a team that has never been assembled? There's no tape on them.
That's fair.
Coach Prime had never coached there. I mean, you had to watch tape from you got 50 some new players. I mean, how do you prepare for that? So I kind of think
they didn't run the same offense either. I mean, they had a different coordinator than he had at Jackson State.
I think TCU kind of drew the short straw as being the first team to have to play Colorado to a degree. I think if they play them today, it may be a different outcome. That being said, TCU's defense got carved up. There's no way to, they did. But I think Colorado will still end up winning, I don't know, 5 or 6 games maybe, which would still be a heck of a turnaround from where they were a year ago. I don't think they're going to win the Pac-12 by any stretch of the imagination, but they'll probably still beat Stanford and maybe Arizona State, maybe one or two more. But
yeah,
so I still think they'll be a good football team. And as far as the Oregon, I mean, I just want to real quick on the whole Oregon thing, or the whole real quick before I go.
Coach Lanning and his
I would. Who would not want to play for that guy? I mean, holy crap! What a pregame speech he gave. And I'll be honest with you, I like a lot of the things Coach Prime stands for and a lot of things he does, but a lot of it I don't like, man. In my opinion, the way
I'm going to say this: if you're going to dish it out, you better be able to take it.
Yeah,
right.
They talk a lot of shit. They talk a lot of shit in Colorado.
They do,
man.
and they do. And then when other people do it, they say, "Well, no, it's personal." Well, you've been making it personal ever since you became the coach at Colorado, basically, because you're always calling people out. Your players are calling people out. You disrespected Oregon's logo.
On brand, but I agree with you.
You disrespected Oregon's logo. I mean, you stand on their end of the field during warmups and talk trash. And I'll be honest with you, I never condone illegal hits or dirty plays or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But he's basically, they're putting a big target on their back every single week.
Yeah.
And people are going to get hurt. I mean, let's just be honest. This is a rough game. It's a dirty game. There are going to be players out there who say, I'm going to go hurt that guy. And that maybe that's what happened to Travis Hunter. I don't know. I'm not saying it is or isn't for sure. But
he walked through one of the huddles flashing $150,000 watch was what I was reading. And, they were talking trash on, I mean, that's Colorado State. Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of the same thing as if I come up to hit after my pitcher just, planted somebody and I get hit, you take it and you walk to first. And that's this type of thing. It's, you know what, guys, we're deterring it. We're not condoning this, but there's not going to be a punishment involved. I promise you that guy got a wink from somebody or a nod from somebody, and that's all that needed to be said.
One thing I would say in defense of Colorado on that, though, both Coach Prime and Travis Hunter came out and defended that kid that hit him.
Sharks versus Jets, baby. Somebody's going to die.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that and I appreciate them doing that. I'm not saying that they had it out for that kid personally. It's just the way they go about their business. To me, they're just putting a huge target on their back every single week. And when you do that, you're asking for things like that to happen, unfortunately, because this is
not everybody.
They're playing
Coach Prime could talk all that shit when he played football because nobody aside from Jerry Rice, who was going to beat him.
Yeah, because that is, I mean, like you said, like you said earlier, Jason, you got if you dish it out, you need to be able to take it.
Absolutely.
So hopefully they can, and maybe that was Coach Prime's point, and taking up for that kid because they know, hey, we've been dishing it out, we got to be able to take it,
guys.
But
at the end of the day, you run your program how you think you need to run your program, and whether people like it or don't like it, it's up to you to run your program. Whatever you do with your program and the expectations of your players. Now, do we have to agree with those expectations? Do we have to agree with Coach Prime? No, we don't have to agree with him. But I tell you what, at the end of the day, he's running his program the way he sees fit. And football is football. It's a violent friggin' game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If you got that shitting strap on and you got that helmet on, get your ass ready. I don't care if you're standing on the sideline. Have your ass ready because I may knock your ass out.
Yeah. And you said a
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Well said, Coach. I don't
Now
know who
Coach gives a shit.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Yeah, I don't really know if I could top that one. That's pretty good.
I love Coach Roy Ball, man. He gets wound up at the right times every time. Every time. Cody, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Dion, it's good publicity. It's good for, unfortunately, some of it's a little wonky, right? A little over the top, a little bit seems like a little bit out of control. But at the same time, like Coach said, the guys, there's recruits that love all this stuff Prime's doing, so they're gonna come and they're gonna flock there. I don't think it's necessarily smart for him to condone them doing all of that quite level of taunting. But if that's how they operate, it is what it is. And I think Colorado will be fine. I think offensively, like what do we talk about? Jason, you and I before the season even started. Dion's gonna have people prepared for the most part, right? That's not a lot that you're gonna have to worry about. It was gonna be the depth, and do they have enough talent defensively, guys?
And
the Pac-12 looks really good, but there's
Yeah.
not like juggernaut defenses in the Pac-12 either. So Colorado's going to be in most games, and they're probably going to win a decent amount. I would say they'd win 5, 6, 7 games.
Yeah, I think it's Coach. I talked about it on his show. At first, there was a lot of people talking that 3 games, and I knew that was bullshit. I knew that we talked about that on this show more than once, that was trash. That was a BS call. That 3 was not, because of the fact that Shedeur can throw it that well. Now, I think that he ought to become a little more two-dimensional and be able to run, because the running game is non-existent right now. But look, the one thing I'm going to say about this upcoming week, USC doesn't have a defense that stops anybody either.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Is that a friggin' newsflash?
It's not, but what Oregon had was monsters in the trenches. They play good defense. They have a defensive-minded head coach that was the defensive coordinator for the national champions just 2 years ago. This isn't the same team. Now, you do have Caleb Williams. They're going to go in there and they're going to do their thing as well. At altitude, though, and if you put them in a position, we have seen USC and Caleb Williams gag these kind of games up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This could be a Baker Mahomes matchup type of a game. They could just be boat racing. Now, I think probably.
Okay, he said bye anyway. So
Couz later.
Thanks for coming in, buddy. All right, go ahead.
But yeah, this is a situation where I think that we're looking at a 42, 37, 38 type of a game at the end of the third quarter, and then USC probably pulls it off. But, you give a lower tier team like Colorado belief. And I promise you, Dylan Edwards ain't going to get tired. So if he's eating, he's going to eat all damn night. And he's going to be, he's going to run for 200 plus. And he might be a 200, 100 guy this week. Now, does Grinch have any type of adjustment capability? No. So what you've got. It's on film. None of it's changing. It hasn't changed since Washington State. So, it's Colorado. Colorado getting, I think that one of the big things is, everybody just said it about Oklahoma. You know what? It's still early. They haven't played anybody, whatever. You got that being said about Oklahoma, but after beating Texas Christian, Colorado's on 2020 and the headline on absolutely everything. And they're one of the hottest programs in college football. A lot of freaking teams look really good at 2-0, and then they go visit somebody who can pop them. So, can I see like a 62-12 game or something like that where USC just stomps a mud hole? Sure, I can. But I think that after last week, they're going to come out with a little bit of humility and do the talking on the field.
Yeah. Sooner Cowboys, so has the Colorado defense. They've created turnovers as well. They've played a better schedule. And hell, Arizona State was in the game the entirety of the game last week, and they're not near as good offensively as what Colorado is. Not even kind of.
with it coming from
I
Sooner
love the way
Cowboys,
that everybody
I don't
just-
know if it's sarcasm or like intelligent thoughts. I'm not 100% sure, because I mean, we all, you know, you can create turnovers all day long, but you know, you score fast and give the ball back to them. You get one turnover, one possession, and then let a touchdown go the next. I mean, how long is it until that just? I mean, it bit them against Utah, and it's going to bite them against anybody else with the pulse.
Right. Folks, Cody's got to get out of here. So we're going to let him, Cody, tell everybody how to find you. Glad to have had you back on the show today. But let everybody know how to find you.
Thanks, brother, man. Yeah, still doing the daily Locked On Oklahoma State show. Yeah, and I definitely don't mind throwing the apology out. I had you on my show, didn't have it coordinated, set up right. I didn't do it right. My apologies. But yeah, you can go check out my daily podcast, Locked On Oklahoma State. Follow me on Twitter at Aldeo State as well. It's all day State all day, Instagram and Facebook too. I'm not on those all that often, but Twitter and my daily podcast and YouTube show.
Absolutely. And get over there and check it out. You've been getting a lot of views lately because there's a lot to talk about with the Gundy. If you guys want real talk about what's going on in Stillwater, there's really only one place to go, and it's Locked On Oklahoma State. So I would get in there and check him out. You're not going to get BS. Yeah, Hank says to grow that shit out sooner than later. I will put some Miracle Grow on it or something, for God's sake.
You know what?
No worries about the show before. I don't care.
We got I got a sponsor from Nutrafol, so I'm about to try that shit.
That's awesome, bro. Awesome. Loving it. Hey, man,
Alrighty, y'all. I appreciate
you for coming
you.
back on. We
Coach,
appreciate you.
Coop, it was a pleasure, brother, man.
You too, sir.
Alrighty, y'all.
See you, Cody.
Later, taters.
All right, bud. All right. And then there were three. We were going to talk a little bit about this. Pac-12 is actually showing its might. That's the one thing I would say is that there's a lot of teams in the Pac-12, and I don't think that a lot of people were on Washington State going into last week. They took down Oregon State, who was one of the front runners, and I still think that they're going to have something to say about what happens in the Pac-12. But the Pac-12 has, you know, at least some call for being the best, most competitive league, at least in the country right now. Wouldn't you say, Coach?
Absolutely. I mean, they got teams playing very well. I mean, you know, the SEC's not playing all that great. You know, we've already talked about the Big 12. No, they have every right to say they're one of the best leagues right now.
Yeah.
And I think that we felt that
quarterback league, right?
Yeah, they you know, you got USC with the reigning Heisman winner. Oregon is Oregon, and you know, I still got Bo Picks. Utah, lunch pail, bring it every single week. We knew that with Penix, Washington was going to be big. Washington State maybe is a little bit better than we thought they were going to be. Oregon and UCLA. I mean, really, the only surprise is Colorado at this point. You know, UCLA, they lost their game this past week, but you know, they're prepping for a run because they're going to have one salty quarterback next year. And
Neely,
this year's good for him.
Yeah, I agree. And Neely will beat me to the punch, but I agree. I think Washington could be one of the best teams in the country right now.
Oh, I agree with that. If there's a better receiving room, as Coach I's talked about, it's than what you have at Ohio State. It's in Washington.
Potentially that, yeah. But you know, last year they looked about the same right at this point. You know, it's really, really, really potent offense, and they went against anything with the defensive pulse. And Penix, you know, he reminds you of Landry Jones, and except for Lefty. But I mean, he's a good quarterback.
He is a trigger man. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's really good, man. He's you know, I think that they're the one team that you haven't really seen struggle at all, you know, in any of their games. I mean, they've never really been pressed, not even a little bit, for a quarter even. So it's been,
well,
you get everything.
That Cal game, that Cal game this week, I mean, they gave up 32 to Cal, and
Yeah, but it was 45 12 at the half.
Yeah. I mean, it's but I just say that, if you're taking a look at, taking the foot off the gas, I mean, that's the only thing that they have really. But I mean, yeah, Washington, I think, is currently, I'd probably say, the most complete team in the Pac-12. But I think that we all thought that this was what was going to happen. They were going to kill each other because, we called them all
the
those
concern
teams.
that I would have if I'm a Pac-12 fan is that are they going to just cannibalize each other, and you end it the second you get 2 losses, it's over.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I mean, you had Utah win the conference championship last year. They already had 2 losses, so they weren't going to the playoff. It didn't matter. Your only chance by that time was for SC to not gag, and SC gags. It's almost Okie light like.
Well, I mean, you got to think, you're not getting 2 out of the Big Ten. Unless I just really don't see it. I mean, I guess unless Ohio State, I mean, because is there a rematch situation? They can't do a rematch, or do they do away with the divisions?
They did away with divisions this year.
Okay, so you're probably going to get two glimpses of Michigan, Ohio State, and I just don't see them. I don't know. I just don't see them putting the loser of that game in the championship.
Oh wait, did they? No, I thought you were talking about the Pac-12. The Big Ten is still in divisions until next season, I believe.
Okay, so I mean, right there, you're going to have 1 out of the Big Ten. I'm guessing 1 out of the SEC, unless somebody gets extremely hot.
I think you would have to beat Georgia, and Georgia was undefeated, and then you'd have to beat them in the SEC championship.
That might be the only way. Yeah. So does Florida State continue their run? Because I think that if it comes down to, and maybe we had this conversation before the season, it comes down to, a 1-loss Notre Dame team who lost to Ohio State. If Ohio State makes it through, you got them. You've got potentially maybe a 1-loss Washington or somebody like that, Washington State at this point, out of the pack, and then a 1-loss team out of the Big 12. So you got 4 teams really vying for 3 spots at that point, and that doesn't take in any brilliant power, group of 5 teams or anything.
No, and I think that when you start looking at the power rankings and stuff like that, and where people have, if you, assuming that Texas approaches 10 wins, which I would never assume such a thing with Sark, but assuming they do that, they're in. I still think that Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame is, if we
get enough friggin' people on the field, that
would help. But be a little more imaginative in 3rd and 4th down. When you're trying to go for it on 4th down, and when you're in 3rd down situations, it seemed to me like that was a little bit, the way it is. I don't see Suck doing anything. SUC, as we call them. I don't see them. I think that they lose a minimum of 3, and I could see them losing as many as 5. But I've been saying 8 and 4 all year, because if you look at the last half of that schedule, they get all the smoke out of the Pac-12. Dante Moore has proven to be a pretty good quarterback there at UCLA as well. They almost won that game in Utah this weekend. Now, of course, and somebody was asking when is Cam Rising going to be back? It could be at any time. I kind of agree with what Coach I said on his show Saturday night on the Snap Count. He said, mess around and let them be undefeated when he gets back.
Yeah.
You talk about a dog, that's going to be kind of, what it is. As far as the Big 12 is concerned, we'll see what happens with that. I think that Oklahoma has a good line to the playoff just because of the fact that their schedule looks that well. I think if you beat Texas, you're almost for sure in, right? Because if you beat Texas in the Red River game, I feel like Texas loses at least another 1 or 2 probably. I just think that they would probably come apart. That's just my feeling on it, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I do feel like Washington's schedule, they should be. Yeah, look, man, they still got to beat. They got to beat Oregon. They're going to have to beat Oregon State. There's some schools that and Utah has been, they're the back-to-back champions until somebody beats them.
Well, I mean,
it's hard to expect
Washington ends with at USC, home Utah, at Oregon State, home Washington State. So that's number 8, number 10, number 19, number 16 as of now. They get Arizona, so they can tune up with a little ass kicking with Arizona this week. And then they get a bye week right before Oregon. So
sure. Yeah, listen, I think that, it's wide open out there. But I think that right now, as the question was asked, I would answer it. Yeah, they're the best conference in the country right now as far as, the number of teams that could, make noise in the playoff if they got there. It's just kind of a shame that, their leadership was so terrible that this is the last year of it, so kind of a shame, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That Apple Cup's going to be a freaking
dude.
November 25th.
I'll tell you something. That guy, and nobody was talking about this guy before the season, right? Nobody was talking about what's his name again? Man, I'm forgetting it. I shouldn't be. The quarterback from Washington State.
Oh, Ward.
Ward. Yeah. Bro, that guy can spin it, right? Yeah. He's got some game. And really, there's not, Arizona's got a decent quarterback even. There's really not a team in the Pac-12 that doesn't have a pretty good quarterback. Aside from, I shouldn't say that. Calford is shit when it comes to that. But aside from them, I think everybody else has a pretty decent quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, what are your thoughts here? Where are you at here? You seem awfully. I know where you're going with it.
I'm just listening and enjoying. I think there's lots of football to be played.
Yeah.
And it's just going to come down to the nut cutting in the Pac-12. Who beats who, and it's
Cam Moore.
Right now, they're definitely the best conference.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that, that doesn't mean they have the best team, but it does mean I think that overall they're definitely
most entertaining. Yeah, most entertaining conference.
If Notre Dame ends with one loss, they're a playoff team, Lone Wolf. They are. Because that means that they will have beaten SC and they would have went on the road and beaten Clemson. That one's going to be a night game. Something tells me that Clemson may win a bunch of games headed into that. They're out of the playoff race, but I wouldn't put them out of everything.
Guys, we gotta beat Duke this week.
Yeah, that's not a given.
Duke's pretty damn good.
They are indeed.
Yeah.
They are indeed.
That's
guys, we have one for. Go ahead.
I want to see Duke and Kansas in a bowl game this year. A little basketball matchup, and
that'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
They're gonna both be right around that same area, so that'd be a pretty entertaining Cotton Bowl. Or what's the one right underneath the Cotton Bowl? The Texas Bowl? Is it the Texas Bowl or Alamo?
Yeah, I see. Better hope Ohio State is undefeated. I don't think that has to be the case for Notre Dame to get in.
There's a lot of reasons
really
that Notre Dame could get in otherwise. Yeah,
right. Well, and I tell you guys, if y'all remember on our show last week, I said one of the teams would win by 3, and I'll be damned if that's exactly what happened. And I have to tell you, I'm still reeling off of that, obviously, because again, we don't win the big game, but we, our kids, our players played a hell of a football game.
I agree.
And I tell you this too, I think we have some of the best corners in the country to match up with their receivers. But
hey man,
I truly believe
Ohio State offense to freaking 17 points.
I truly believe that, and you guys know I'm a Coach Freeman fan. I think he's doing a hell of a job.
Well,
but him and the coaching staff cost these kids the ball game.
They did.
When you have the ball inside of 4 minutes, and they've got Ohio State has 2 timeouts. Your running game from everything I know, Notre Dame running game's supposed to be the shit. and we don't run the ball and force them to use timeouts, and then we throw a friggin' screen pass that, let me tell you, if it's 2 inches higher, it's a hell of a call. But it wasn't. And the thing about it is they shouldn't have been throwing the damn football at any point in that time frame. It should have been running the ball. And you know what? You say Audric Estime is a stud. Well, by God, give him the ball. I know he wasn't having a great game. 2 other backs.
He had some good runs, though.
And I agree, but so did Love, and so did Price. They had a better game, honestly, than Audric. Yeah. But that's okay. But if he's your bell cow, give him the friggin' football. Let the clock run down. Make him use some timeouts. So that's where the debacle started. And then to have 11 men or not have 11 men on the field, having 10. And I tell you what, I was so pissed off to hear Coach Freeman say, well, I knew we only had 10, but I didn't want to get a penalty. Well, Look, shit, they got the ball on, inside the 1 yard line. So what's another 6 or 7 inches going to make any difference in that? So don't, I tell you, I took that personally, that he was full of shit making that statement.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You could have had a damn dead body placed there in the spot of the defensive tackle, and you could have stopped them. But yet we didn't do that. And that's two plays, not one, 2 plays with 10 guys. And that's coming out of a timeout. Now, guys, there's a lot of damn coaches in the press box. There's a lot of coaches on the sideline. And you mean to tell me you don't have anybody counting how many people are on the field?
I was going to ask you, what would be the freaking – what would you do if that
We always – Jason –
not one, but twice in a row,
right.
2 plays in a row.
Right.
What would you have done? Would somebody have gotten fired that next day?
Oh, well, I don't know that I'd have fired them, but number one,
they're getting coffee.
Exactly. But you've got Jason. Did you ever, the whole time you were here with me, ever see us not have enough people on the field?
No,
because I had somebody counting. Somebody had the job of counting how many people we had on the field.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on, man. I
was
don't
surprised at the number of coaches that you had sometimes, but those were the little things that you didn't ever have. It was little things that weren't ever the issue in Hobbs.
No.
And that's again, as an OU fan, you watch the mismanagement. It's the fact that it happens multiple times, the same exact thing. So back-to-back plays, that's frustrating to have several games where we couldn't manage the damn clock like we were, a 6-year-old girl, who's never heard of football could do the same type of coaching jobs at certain times. So, it happens. But at the same time, I mean, you didn't win the big game. I won't say that nobody looks at you for, like, if this was like a NC State who'd started 3-0, then I understand your grief. This is Ohio State, and they've got 2 top 15 draft picks at wide receiver. They've dropped off at the quarterback significantly, and that doesn't look great. But I think Hartman. I'm a big Hartman guy. I think he left a lot on the field too, and I think that he looks like he didn't want to make the mistake, and that took away all that aggression for the first 3 weeks.
I certainly agree with you 100%, and I'm not sure that play calling was very good either. I mean, just as a whole, I don't think that we
unimaginative. Best.
we weren't attacking as we have been.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of set back and I think it goes back to what you said, Coop. I think it was we didn't want to have the turnover. And with doing that, we became very inaggressive. And so I think if we'll just go out, play aggressive football, and our defense guys, I was super impressed with our defensive play. I really was. And then the kicker, I would have liked to have slapped the shit out of him for missing a chip shot. Because that was another thing that, and so again, and I hear what you're saying, Coop, if that had been the NC State with 3, but again, what hurts is that I think,
big ones, right?
Yeah. And we haven't. And that's what's just, but we got to, my whole thing right now is we got to go week to week and win, because we got a lot of trap games ahead of us here.
Sure.
And so we just got to go week to week.
Yeah, and I agree with Neilio. You go out and lure Harmon to South Bend to be more of an attacking downfield attacking didn't make much sense after watching that. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I thought it was completely unimaginative at best from that offensive staff.
Yeah. It was like the spring game, play call sheet or something.
Absolutely,
that. Exactly.
Let's work on.
It's almost
like playing not to lose, playing not to lose.
Scout team shit, man. Yeah. You knew what was.
Let's just get through. Let's just get through all of this, and that's what it looked like. Or like a preseason game in the NFL to where the starters run out there.
Afraid to lose and expect to win, man. That's period. Bottom line. Yeah. You cannot.
Marcus Freeman even made the statement last week. We're going to play to win and not play to lose, and I don't think they did that.
They didn't. No, you say that now after you lose the game, but you didn't. No, I don't know.
He did not. So, but anyway, life goes on. I'm still pissed off, and will be pissed off probably till the day I die.
Yeah, folks, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate everybody. We've been going longer than I even intended to tonight. I got to get off to work and everything as well. I thank everybody for coming in here. We've had a lot of views in here. We got about half the likes for the views. So if you get the opportunity, do hit that like button on your way out, please. And if you're coming in and seeing the replay, please do that as well. If you would like to become a member of the Hall of Fame Mafia, you can do so right below Coop, youtube.com/@CFP-pod/join. And then you also have our official podcast merchandise website. Get some of our SUC wear, the horns down stuff, anything like that you would like. You got some pretty cool stuff in our merch store. Go check it out. If you are a grill person, you like to tailgate, smoke meats, hit up our Louisiana Grills partner link right above the coach. HOFmedia.us/Louisiana-grills. $100 off for everything in the Black Label line. Just by using our link, they've got some amazing smokers. Make sure you get in there and check that out. Of course, all your official licensed gear is through the Fanatics partner link right above Coach on your left side of your screen as well. Guys, the easiest way to help this program out in the free way, just hit the freaking like button. It helps us. Share us with your friends. I want to thank all of our guests tonight for coming on. Coop, let everybody know how to find you and Jay.
Yeah, check us out, Unfair Sports. Tomorrow we're going to have a big one. So we'll be going on at 8 p.m. Central Standard Daytime or I guess nighttime. And so the theme of tomorrow is Powerline. So have on it. Take a look, and when we ask for the likes, whether it's on our channel or on this one, guys, that's let somebody else see it too. And a lot of people listen to some crap out there, so gift it to a friend, send it to somebody, share it on your Twitter, share it on your your Facebook account if you're looking for good football content, something like that, or on your MySpace account.
On your MySpace account.
Yeah. Tom likes this.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. All right. Hey, I hope you will be. Get in there and check out all of our stuff. Guys, thanks a lot again for coming in. Coach, thank you again for being a part of the show. We can always have to thank our audience, the best audience on YouTube. is right here.
Minus Hank.
And we do thank you, my boy. We do definitely bring on the best guests I feel like of anybody. Period. Don't run off just yet, Coop, whenever we finish up here, because I want to ask you something. All right, but thanks a lot, everybody, for coming in, and we will see you on the next one.